Getting hooked on painkillers is an expensive habit. Many now turning to a cheaper way to chase that high with heroin. Tonight, we take you inside the epidemic, investigating how this deadly drug is winding up in our neighborhoods. Here's ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas.
She was completely gray. Her eyes were rolled back in the back of her head, and she was frothing out the mouth.
That was the shocking state Vinya found her 17-year-old daughter in when she went to wake her for school one morning.
I screamed to my husband. I'm like, get up here, and we're shaking her, and we're shaking her, and we're shaking her.
Both Guy and her husband had no idea what was wrong with their precious daughter, Nikki, until paramedics arrived.
The EMT asked me, he said, what kind of drugs does your daughter take? And I said, she doesn't take drugs. And he said, she has track marks all over her arms. And I'm like, what? And he goes, your daughter's a heroin addict.
Their daughter was revived that morning, but the nightmare was only beginning. Vinya's story is one of just thousands playing out across the country.
Now, is this the house where your friend lost her son?
Right here, yes. He died on Easter Sunday.
The heroin epidemic casting a shadow on neighborhoods big and small. Deaths from heroin addiction have more than doubled from 2010 to 2012. Heroin, it seems, is everywhere.
You guys want to head out?
And authorities are doing everything they can to crack down on the addictive substance. It's just after dawn near St. Louis, only about 25 miles from Vinya's home. And a team of DEA agents and local police are preparing to raid a home they believe has a stash of heroin inside. A few minutes later, it's on.
DEA police! Come on out!
They are hunting for heroin.
Whoa! What's going on?
And police say it doesn't take long for agents to find some.
9 months.
For DEA Task Force Officer Juan Wilson, it's just one front on a battle that has consumed him. He lost his father-in-law to a vicious heroin addiction. Today, the search inside this home leaves him outraged.
What you find in there?
We found a loaded pistol. It was underneath the couch cushion, laying right next to where the baby was, where we found the heroin also. Fully loaded.
You look pissed.
It's it's one thing to find, the heroin next to a baby, but you find a loaded gun. I've got kids of my own, and it's a little angering, yeah.
More and more suburbanites, once addicted to pain pills, are now turning to heroin. It's a cheap alternative and more potent. It's a quick fix and driving big business.
So Juan, why do you think that heroin is so popular here?
It's very, very affordable. It's cheap. Oxycontin, for the most part, dealers normally charge $1 per milligram. So if you have an 80 milligram dose of Oxycontin, you can essentially pay $80 for one pill versus one pill or one dose of heroin in a capsule can cost you anywhere between $5 to $15.
Two females that look like
We were at that same suburban house the day before, undercover.
they want to make the money.
We set up a safe distance away, watching with binoculars to see if buyers would drive up to the home for drugs.
We're seeing transactions go on while the mail is being delivered.
We watch car after car pulling up, what police allege are customers chasing a high.
They'll start early in the morning, they'll finish late at night, they'll do this all day.
The white male and the white female are sitting in that black car.
Convinced that they just made purchases, police pull over suspected customers to prove heroin is being sold out of that house.
Yeah, we got him.
The passenger of the car got picked up by his friend over here, and even with the child in the car, decided they were going to come out and buy some heroin today. And the passenger attempted to snort as much heroin that he could, and then flicked the rest of it out the window. What kind of habit you got right now?
Not a bad one. I do like 2-3 beans a day, man. I snorted some of it, I ain't gonna lie, you know what I mean?
Right. I can see a little bit on your nostril.
Yeah.
Not far away, agents pull over another suspected buyer. This one thought to have hidden heroin.
No, they're concealed down there, and she's having her time. Oh. Are they inside you right now?
How do you want to do this? You want to just reach down and give them up?
She gives up quickly.
These are called beans or buttons, and usually there's about half gram of actual heroin in there.
For Juan, fighting heroin is not just a job. He grew up here, and heroin has cost him dearly.
I've got a personal stake with it.
You lost your father-in-law?
Yes, sir. He was a long-time prescription pill abuser and a long-time heroin user. One day he got a phone call to come to his apartment where they had found his body.
Understanding how heroin has infiltrated small-town America requires tracing it to its biggest source, Mexico. We went to ground zero, the gateway, the southern border, to understand the huge scale of the problem.
We're at the busiest border crossing in the country. Every day, 83,000 people enter the U.S. near San Diego. We're talking an incredible volume. That's 45,000 cars per day.
It's a game of cat and mouse between Customs and Border Patrol officers and an army of smugglers whose job it is to get thousands of pounds of heroin into the U.S.
Are they getting more creative?
Well, they are being very creative. Deeper concealment, transmissions, mufflers, engine blocks, tough for us to get to. We got to call mechanics in to help us.
In the infrastructure of the car?
In the structure of the car, yes.
While we're there, agents see something that doesn't look right in this van. They run it through an x-ray machine. They find nearly 100 pounds of marijuana, vacuum sealed and neatly stuffed in the gas tank. The cartels are smuggling heroin by any means necessary, through tunnels, submarines, even inside the bodies of live puppies. If it's caught, it's sent to a super secret government facility like this, a site so sensitive we can't tell you where it is. The concern that heavily armed cartels and other drug dealers might come to steal this precious product.
Your family doesn't even know where this place is, right?
Warehouse size is packed from floor to ceiling with seized drugs, including heroin, kept under padlock even though it's inside a vault.
We're looking at a couple thousand pounds.
And what would that translate into? Millions of dollars worth of street value?
Yes. Right here what we have is essentially white heroin. Right here what we have is what we call brown heroin, and depending on what they cut it with, you're going to see different shades of the brown. This last one here, excuse me, is what we would call your black tar heroin.
We're looking at ruined lives. We're looking at death right in that bag.
Yes.
This is an amazing, vibrant city.
Back in St. Louis, DEA Special Agent Jim Schroba says the Mexican drug cartels devised a diabolical marketing plan to boost heroin production and target prescription drug users.
They brought in better chemists, a better refinement process. They wanted to open up the market to individuals whose idea of heroin was the syringe. And they made it so pure they gave new users, suburban users in this region, the opportunity to snort it and then get them hooked.
In some cases, heroin sold on the street, once only 6% pure, is now a staggering 90% pure. In the St. Louis suburb where Juan grew up, the death toll is alarming.
In the St. Charles County area, in 2004, there was 4 overdose deaths, and just in 2013, there were 26. It's highly addictive.
So many have died, Juan decided to tour schools to warn young people.
Hey, how are you?
That community outreach led him to meet Guy Vigna. Her daughter's battle with heroin touched him. They became family. Nikki went through 3 years of rehab. She was in college on the path to recovery, but it was a struggle.
This is not your child anymore. Physically, it looks like them, but the inside is not them anymore. That is now someone who is controlled and owned by heroin. They all become lying, cheating, stealing thieves.
Nothing could save Nikki.
I got a phone call from a local police officer, and he said, there's a sick call at your house. I immediately went home and I pulled up, and our whole court was filled with police, and there wasn't any sirens on, and I saw my husband just collapse on the front porch, and I knew. I can so vividly remember that moment of just sitting there thinking, oh my God, she died.
How are you? I want to tell everyone thank you so much for coming out at such short notice.
Guy and her family have turned their immense grief into a calling.
Thanks for coming out.
Are they ready?
They walk to raise awareness of the dangers of heroin in communities that may not realize they have a problem.
There's not one person here that has not been affected by heroin.
Some come with pictures of loved ones who have died from heroin. Juan has been with Guy every step of the way.
This is my calling. In the past couple of months, 2 to 3 people have died from drug overdoses, people that I went to school with and that I knew.
Deaths from heroin, an indiscriminate killer that does not care what neighborhood you're from. For Nightline, Pierre Thomas, ABC News, St. Louis.